Have you ever seen a stock chart that just goes vertical? I mean, it looks less like a stock and more like a rocket launch. Well, today, we're going to dissect one of those. We're looking at the anatomy of a huge one-day surge to figure out the big question. Is this a temporary blip, or is this the real deal?
All right, let's just jump straight into it. Picture this. You open up your trading app, and bam, you see this number. A stock is up over 27%. And get this, we're not talking about a slow, steady climb over weeks or months. Nope, this whole explosion happened in just one single day, from the opening bell to the close. You know, a move like that, it makes everybody stop and look.
And that, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question. Is this the bottom? Is this the beginning of some amazing comeback, or is it a trap? A bull trap just waiting to snap on anyone who buys in? Well, that's exactly what we're going to figure out.
So the company at the heart of all this drama is Strive Asset Management. You can find it under the ticker ASST. And on October 25th, its stock went on, well, a truly wild ride. I mean, it didn't just climb, it absolutely launched.
Okay, there's a lot going on here, but let's focus on the two key numbers. First, the price surged all the way up to $1.10. But the real jaw-dropper, the volume. Over 247 million shares changed hands. To put that in perspective, its average day is around 10 million. So yeah, this wasn't just a little bit of interest. This was a stampede.
So how do we figure out what's really going on here? Well, we got to play detective. We're not going to guess. We're not going to rely on some gut feeling. No, we are diving deep into the hard data, looking at a full technical analysis report.
And hey, if you're not familiar with technical analysis, it's pretty straightforward. Think of it like being a crime scene investigator for a stock. You're looking at the evidence, the past price action, the volume, to find clues about what it's going to do next.
And what's really interesting is that this investigation immediately splits into two completely different stories. It's a total tug-of-war. On one side, you've got the bulls, with all this evidence saying the stock is going higher, and on the other side, you've got the bears, pointing to all these red flags that say it's about to crash.
Okay, let's start with the bullish case. What's the evidence that supports this massive jump? What are the clues telling us that this rally might actually have some legs?
So, the report highlights a few really interesting things. For one, the price actually pushed above its short-term trend lines, which is a good sign. But the really big one? You had a bunch of key indicators just screaming oversold. Think of it like a rubber band that's been stretched and stretched and stretched. Eventually, it has to snap back, right? That's kind of what was happening here. The stock was pushed down so hard for so long that a bounce was almost guaranteed.
And here's a quote that really captures the tricky part. The analyst says it hints at short-term recovery, but notice the other part, amid a negative MACD value. It's like seeing a little flicker of light, but you're still in a very, very dark room.
But, and this is a big but, now we have to look at the other side of the coin, the bearish warning signs. And this is where things get, well, a lot more troubling. Because if we zoom out from this one exciting day, the long-term story is not pretty.
I mean, look at this. This chart tells you everything you need to know. Yeah, it jumped 27%, which sounds great. But at $1.10, it's still just barely off the floor. The 52-week high for this stock was over $12. So that dramatic surge we saw, in the grand scheme of things, is just a tiny little blip on the radar of a massive, massive downtrend.
And when you dig into the longer-term data, it gets even worse. The price is way, way below all the important medium and long-term moving averages. There's a powerful indicator called the ADX that's basically screaming, yes, this downtrend is real and it is strong. So, to put it simply, even with that one-day pop, the bigger trend is still down. The money flow is negative. It's not a good look. And this quote from the analyst really sums it all up, doesn't it? It's a short-term rebound in a broader bearish trend. That's the key right there. That's the conflict we've been talking about. A little bit of good news inside a whole lot of bad news.
Okay, so what's the final verdict? We've got clues pointing up, and we've got clues pointing way, way down. How do we make sense of this?
Well, the analysis is pretty clear. What we're looking at is a classic oversold bounce. And that's exactly what it sounds like. It's a temporary, sharp rally in a stock that is still stuck in a powerful, long-term downtrend. It's not a sign that things have changed. It's more like a temporary gasp for air before it potentially goes under again. So the big question is, what now? What does this actually mean for someone thinking about trading this stock? Well, understanding that this is probably an oversold bounce, that changes everything. It's not just some abstract idea. It leads to a very specific strategy. So,
Here's the game plan, laid out nice and clear. For the bulls, the magic number is 92 cents. The stock has to hold above that level. If it does, maybe it can push up to about 123. But, and this is a huge but, if it breaks below 92 cents, look out. The floor could drop out and we could see a test of support way down near 15 cents. So the big takeaway, strategy-wise, this is a short-term bounce play, period. You don't even think about holding this long-term unless it can somehow climb back above $1.59.
So, after seeing all the evidence, after hearing both sides of the argument, it really all comes down to this one last question.
Is a potential short-term gain really worth the risk of trying to catch a falling knife? Because that's what this is. You might make a quick buck, sure, but the data is pretty clear that you're jumping into a stock that's in a massive downtrend. So the question isn't for me, it's for you. Is that gamble worth it?